And from the top of West Mountain in Scranton, Pennsylvania, good morning, everybody. This is 94.3 FM, the Talker, Sanity Check, Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike. X will be on the line. Frank Sorek will not be in studio today. If you want to start your weekend off right, you want to blow off a little steam, you have a few things to say, you could give us a call here at 888-577-4487. That number is 888-577-4487. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Lou. And I'm assuming Frank is probably down getting ready to see the Philadelphia Eagles. He probably has a front row seat by now.
He didn't say, but all good stuff.
All good stuff. You know, I wanted to start off, Lou. We talked a little bit yesterday, and I just wanted to share this with our listeners. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and she was showing me some things online. And one of the really, really cool things was it was not in Ferguson. Of course, we all know about Ferguson, but it was in a town similar to that where they had some racial unrest, and there was a young black boy with a sign that said free hugs, and the picture showed a white officer giving him a hug, and, you know, of course, the tears flowing everywhere. And, you know, that's important enough. Then she said to me, Dad, how come we don't see this on any of the media?
Right.
How come, Dad? How come they want to show us all the negative stuff, Dad? How come all I can do is find this on YouTube and other places? And, you know, her point was really, for a 16-year-old, pretty insightful, I thought, where she recognized that, you know, we're just being fed the lies. We're just being fed everything to divide us, Lou. And this is what I think is important in our culture for us to know that and to really, really try to come together despite the fact that I feel that the government is doing so many things, Lou, excuse me, to try and divide us as a culture. And I thought that was pretty observant, and I think it's important to even really know that that's why it's important to have other media sources, like the Independent Gazette, like the Internet that they're trying to change on us. So I think it's really, really important for us to be aware that, you know, I think we get a lot further with love, Lou, than we do with hatred. So I just wanted everybody to keep that in mind.
And Michael, I not only is that an important point, but I also think that as we have these conversations, which once again we've been talking about over the last few weeks, and I think that's something that we do bring to the table, and I'm really proud about what we've been able to do as a group is that we do really try to reach out and have conversations, because in many ways we understand what's going on. We could look at what's going on. You know, one of the things, Michael, that I did bring up when we were talking about this yesterday is what happened in Ferguson. You know, there was a lot of, let's say, gray area, what's going on. And yet what happened in New York, you know, just listening to what was happening, you know, and how it was being reporting, one of the things that jumped out at me yesterday, and as I was just, you know, turning on the radio when I was in the car, I heard Limbaugh talking about, you know, there was no chokehold. You know, and then you listen to MSNBC and the way they're reporting it, and they said the grand jury came, you know, returned not guilty in the chokehold death of, you know, and here we have the video, and here we have, and we can't even get that right, no less, and it's almost like you always have to pit one against the other. We've been talking about the courts, and later on we have a woman that's going to be on here for a good portion of the show, the Pennsylvania Coalition of Family and Parental Rights. And we want to look for those solutions. And by the way, Mike, just so that I don't forget, we have set up, and as we look for solutions, we have set up kind of a command center, I guess is the best way to talk about this, is for this custody for cash. And starting on December 18th from 6 to 8, we'll be at the Elm Park United Methodist Church, which is on the corner of Linden and Jefferson. And that's going to be a place for folks to come and talk. They could talk to some of our reporters. They could talk with anonymity. They could talk in public. There's going to be advocacy groups there to listen to their stories. People that have went through these problems. Certainly, the Pennsylvania Coalition of Family and Parental Rights group will be there. Voices will be there. people that have went through all of this. And then we're also going to be helping instruct them how to do right to knows, how to get the information that in very many ways there's barriers put up to get court records, things of that nature. And then by the time we move into January, we will be expecting, asking, and then demanding that our public officials show up and listen to these stories. We need to put faces on these stories. We need to put faces on the folks that are out there going through all of this stuff. But once again, we're looking for solutions, Michael. And just like you just said, if we're constantly at each other's throats, now there's things that need to be fixed. I am very concerned about the police state, what's going on. One of the things that has been a little disturbing to me, and I don't know if you agree, and I'm going to get X right in on this conversation right now because, like I said, we'll have other people on the line here in a little bit. But one of the little things that are disturbing to me a little bit is when we look at what's happening in New York, not the Ferguson thing. Are we just given carte blanche? I guess how you would say it, I guess the best way to phrase it, do the police have carte blanche to just do what they want to do? I mean, and is this where we're going? And I find perhaps that this is a little scary. So, what say you?
I agree with that. And one of the things that, as a culture, that we're so ready to say is, "Oh, well, that was racism in New York. That was racism," and I don't believe that was racism. I believe, and I did see the videos, and in my opinion, that if somebody had their arm around my neck the way it did, I would consider that a chokehold. But I believe it was over-aggressive police, where, like you said, they believe that they probably pretty much have the okay to do what they want with complete coverage. And the concerning part is that if they're willing to do that to a man over a pack of cigarettes, Lou, over a pack of cigarettes,
yeah,
is that necessary to do that? And yes, he was a big man, but I myself personally, and I know I might probably upset some of our listeners, but didn't see any aggressive behavior other than the fact that perhaps they call it resisting arrest. I'm not really quite sure they gave him the opportunity to be arrested. But this is where I see this, Lou, where we are concerned about the police state.
And when you're just talking about being politically correct or politically incorrect, just as this week we were down and we helped sponsor the Ben Carson event at Penn's Peak. And that was one of the things that he talked about. And it's kind of a softball because we have Lou from Greeley on line too, and I'm going to take that call. Good morning, Lou.
Good morning, Lou, my brother from another mother. Yeah, oh, man. I just called to thank you profusely.
Oh, no, thank you.
If it wasn't for you, Virginia, and I would have never been there.
Oh. What did you think, and what did you think of the whole event?
It's magnificent. That man, the eloquence, he's.
So you're a Ben Carson fan for sure, huh?
The venue was beautiful.
It was a beautiful venue, and so you're a Ben Carson fan. A couple things that jumped out at me.
I've been a Ben Carson fan since he fed Obama his breakfast at the prayer breakfast. But yeah. There's one thing though. If it wasn't for us Tea Party, conservatives, Republicans being so racist, he might have sold the place out.
There you go.
Wait a minute. He did sell the place out.
It was sold out. Thank you.
Imagine that.
It's a little too early for me at this morning. I didn't get that little facetiousness in your tone, but I get it now. So.
Yeah, I'm just out of work. I got my got my 12 hours in. I got my snark worked up.
There you go. But one of the things, Michael, and X, I'm going to bring you on now too, but certainly one of the things that had jumped out at me, and Lou, thanks for calling. I'll let you go because I know we're going to have a busy day here today, but thank you for all that you've been doing, and we certainly appreciate everything the Patriot Connectors has done. Certainly, I think you have a meeting coming up the second Thursday, as always, in Lake Paul Pack High School over there in Hawley. But you guys have really supported our efforts, and we thank that. So back at you there. Mike and NX, one of the things that Ben Carson talked about was this whole politically correct, incorrect stuff, and that people are so afraid to say something sometimes that we don't have that conversation. Good morning, X.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Hey, yeah, obviously politically correct is really just a way of limiting free speech. And, it's the hallmark of a society, from my perspective, is the ability for everybody to get their stuff out. I mean, I'm actually a person that if I go online and I see neo-Nazi crazy stuff, I'm actually happy. And the reason that is because then I know somehow at least the internet isn't being censored. A lot of these people, what they'll do is they'll explode or destroy themselves by putting out their crazy views. So let them put their crazy views out if that's the case, because then they'll expose themselves. But the idea that we somehow have to be afraid of speech is absolutely crazy, because it goes right back to like when you're 5 years old and you're saying sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me, sort of thing. I mean, this is what you need to have in society in order to have an intelligent dialogue about what was really going on.
And one of the things, X, like we pointed out already this morning, is that I think what we've been able to do and what we're striving to do is have more of these conversations. And sometimes these conversations could be heated. They could be direct. But once we get our politicians involved in what we're doing, along with what other politicians are saying, and give both sides an equal voice, not to cut them out, not to edit what they're saying to get our point of view across, but really allow them to have a free flow of information. I think then on both sides, people will respect not only what we're doing, but maybe respect of how our political process is working. What say you, Michael?
Well, Lou, I guess I think about this and I look at all the craziness that's going on, and our political leaders really don't do a whole lot to help. My twin brother used to be a basketball coach, and he had, I believe, like 160 wins and 30 losses, and I attribute that to one of his statements he always used to tell his players, and that was, cool heads prevail. And I think that's so important that we need that in the culture, too, because our first knee-jerk reaction is to attack rather than to have a conversation. And I think we need to really, really keep this in mind, that, it's a lot easier to sit down, have a conversation, really have an open mind to why one individual might feel a certain way, and then let's get something resolved. Let's have a place in the middle that we can all meet. And I think really so I'm really disappointed at quite a bit of how our politicians are and how they try to work things up. And, and really, as X says, we're not allowed to talk. If we say certain things against certain people, not in a negative way, we're suddenly racist and we're marked. And it's time that we stop that. And I believe that will be a real attribute to both sides, Lou, because I think there's some racism within our nation? Sure there is.
Of course
I think
there is.
Probably some, of course there is. But I don't think it's to the point that, the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons of the world want to do that. And, I look at Al Sharpton, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the evil's coming out of him. If you've seen him lately, he's the poor man has shriveled up to nothing, Lou.
Well, go ahead.
The thing that stands out is when you hear people speak about things, it's interesting how you get people that either the police are all bad or the police are all good.
I know.
You notice
right.
There isn't like some, the fact that you're talking about, Limbaugh saying it's not a chokehold and a few of these other type of things. It's like the fact that most that are typically on the right can't acknowledge that the police force has gone, a lot of police departments have set themselves up for, let's say, going crazy. I mean, the idea of arming police as if they're going into Beirut in small towns all over America. I mean, we're not talking about, some hard, burnt out areas or something like that. I mean, I think there was a case where a small town in New Hampshire was going to get an MRAP and automatic machine guns.
Right.
What? So what happens is I have an old story, and I probably told you guys about this before, but I went to an all-boys Catholic school, and we used to have this thing every 2 weeks. On Fridays, you could give $1, and you didn't have to wear a tie and jacket to school. Well, guess what happened? When did all of the, incidents end up where the principal's office would be filled with people? It always took place when you weren't wearing your suit and tie.
Right.
So the thing is, it's just like the police. We've taken police. I don't know if you've seen them nowadays. Some of these police departments, you actually think they're going to do a Navy SEAL combat jump behind enemy lines with the way they're driving around and how they're armed to the teeth. And it's so funny because so much of what about the tasers? What about the pepper spray? I mean, why is the first thing to reach for a gun? I mean, if anything, I pay the police to be apprehensive about reaching for the gun. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? Like, I understand a person with their protecting themselves being a little bit on the edge, but the police should be the ones that they should be more than confident that they don't have to reach for their guns all the time, especially at a time when crime is at record lows. Just remember that. Crime's at record lows, and the police are arming as if there's complete chaos in the streets.
X, we're going to have to change topics, but just before we go to break here, just to go back what you just said about they're always all right or they're always all wrong. Do you remember Hannity and the whole Louima thing? Do you remember how he was, defining that?
Yeah. Sean Hannity's defending the police in the Abner Louima case, whereby I believe it was a Haitian immigrant or something like that, had been brutally assaulted.
Sodomized, yeah.
In a police department.
Right.
And Hannity's on there trying to spin this yarn that somehow like Abner Louima came into the police department that way. I mean, so all you start to think is the PBA having a direct line or a back line to the Sean Hannity show so that they can spin the proper tales. I mean, the one thing we need to be is always commitment to the truth and commitment to transparency. That's it. It saves so many of the problems that we're going to have.
On that note, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we have Michelle Schaefer on. I'm looking forward to this interview. Stay tuned to this. This is going to be riveting, and I think it's going to be eye-opening. You listen to Sanity Check on 94.3 FM, The Talker.
Do you want education through discussion? Do you think there's bias in the media? Has the political class let you down? Then join Sanity Check as they expose, inform, and enlighten through the new standard in talk radio. Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM, The Talker.
Do you say what you want to say and let the words fall out? Honestly, I want to see you be brave. What you want to say.
And we're back. 94.3 FM to talk. Sanity Check, Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike, X. And, that song goes out to all these individuals that have been fighting the good fight, trying to expose what's going on, not only in the family courts, but the Kids for Cash. And we're going to be later on today, Michael, with some of those individuals. We're going to be viewing the Kids for Cash movie. And some other information they want us to help expose. Once again, for the custody for cash, we will be setting up what we'd like to call maybe a command center, starting off slow. We're not looking for any big groups to show up right off the bat, but certainly it's going to be a place, Michael, for our writers to kind of get together and talk about what we want to write about, and that's going to be at Elm Park United Methodist Church in Scranton. That's December 18th, 6 to 8. That's on the corner of Linden and Jefferson. Right now, somebody that has been fighting that good fight and knows all too well what it takes for folks to speak out, to be brave, is Michelle Schaefer. Michelle Schaefer is from the Pennsylvania Coalition of Family and Parents' Rights, which was started last year, and we're going to learn a little bit more about that here shortly. And good morning, Michelle.
Good morning to you. Thank you for calling having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Oh, so thank you, and the stuff that you guys have been doing, and how you've been helping. Just very briefly, I want to just say a few things, or you can just briefly just tell us what the Coalition of Family and Parental Rights are, and then I want to talk a little bit more about yourself. And certainly we want to start putting faces of how this is affecting folks. But just what is the Pennsylvania Coalition of Family and Parental Rights, and why did you start this organization?
Well, originally our group was began by a group of very concerned parents and grandparents in Berks County. At that time, we just thought maybe the problem was confined to Berks County. We were isolated. We knew that there was a problem. And as we began to talk to other people, attend rallies across the country, network with other people, again from California and all over, and got on Facebook and realized, wow, we really have a problem in Pennsylvania with our family court system and CYS, and that it wasn't confined to just the one county. That's when a group of people agreed all over the state to come together to try to address this issue. And that was when the coalition officially was founded. Basically, our group primarily is trying to give support and advocate for other families going through this process to let them know that they're not alone, that sadly this happens all too commonly.
Now, you're a state-recognized organization, correct?
At this time, no. We have the paperwork in. It's a process. It takes a while. I mean, as far as being an official nonprofit, we're working on that. But yes, the legislature has recognized our group. We have appeared in front of several legislators to give presentations, yes.
And you have a hotline that is manned by volunteers, and they answer calls to provide emotional support. And what I've come to know is that the group is comprised of hundreds of people. You're staying from around the state.
Correct. Now, in certain areas of the state, there seems to attract more members. In other words, there's hot spots, if you will. But yes, there are people from all over the state.
You know, Michelle, we've seen the same thing, and certainly there's certain counties that seem to be hot spots. Certainly up here, Luzerne and Lackawanna County is a sunspot for sure up here, and Berks County, and we could go on and on picking on certain counties. One of the things that Michael and X that we want to start doing, and we've kind of mentioned here recently, Michelle, is that I've noticed that there's been, when I see a face, very often, we don't put faces on these things only because for whatever reasons, people are afraid to put their face on, or, but some of the families that I have seen that have been torn apart. So before we go into all this other stuff, and you have some not only great work, but some of the information that you sent me is, and some of the stuff that we talked about last night, had me riveted, and certainly as much as I've been into this since we wrote our first custody for cash story now back in February, so we're almost going on a year now. There's so much more to still know, but I want to put a face on this first, and part of that is your story and some of the things that we talked about. And I hope I don't put you on the spot here, but you talked about your family coming here to America, fighting the American Revolution, the Virginia story. How you and for our listeners, you're in Virginia for a reason. I want to talk a little bit about that, and you also mentioned that. Down in Virginia, you're recognized as a fantastic mom. Sunday school, your school teacher or were school teacher. Give us a little bit more background about yourself, so people that are listening here understand that. This is not somebody that's, sitting on, the common perception sometimes that, you have done something wrong. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Right. Well, I, going way back, and this actually came up in court, I was a student of the month. I was an honor society student. I was a first-generation kid to go off to college. I won scholarships to college. I was named Who's Who in American College Students. I was president of many groups. I was involved in community outreach. I taught English as a second language. I volunteered. I was a 4-H leader. I raised dogs for the Seeing Eye. I was a Sunday school teacher superintendent. I ran Bible school programs. This was all before I had kids. I went to become a teacher. I was a teacher. I was a homeschool advisor. I did numerous things and came to the point where after going through a horrible divorce, I lost custody of my children. CYS came in, decided that I wasn't a good parent. I was just flabbergasted. And I know people say that if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. I found out that that is totally not true. I was doing absolutely nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. I lost custody of my children to someone who had actually been in a mental facility and who had a criminal record. And I had done none of those things. And I lost custody, and I was forced to pay child support to that individual, my entire salary. It destroyed us financially. It destroyed my career, and just about destroyed my family. My daughter attempted suicide several times, and we're fighting our way back. I did everything I was supposed to do. I spent all of our savings and then some fighting.
And still fighting, correct?
Still fighting. And the reality is, in that my situation, I really honestly believe that nothing will be fixed until my children age out. At this point, I have 2 children that have aged out and have come back to me at 18. I have a child now that desperately wants to come back and is told she cannot leave Pennsylvania till she's 18.
Which comes to which comes to the Virginia story a little bit. How did you wind up in Virginia? And once again, I'm trying to put a face on this. I want our listeners to understand, what is happening out there, but also understanding, but who's telling the story. And yesterday you kind of mentioned something to me about first of all about inheriting land in from your grandfather, but how did you wind up in Virginia?
Well, and basically, I was at a coffee shop in Kutztown while my ex had custody of my kids, and just trying to wrap my mind about what was happening to me, because it just, you're brought to believe that in America, if you work hard and you keep your nose to the grindstone and you're a good person, you stay out of trouble, life is going to go a certain way. And wow, it wasn't happening that way. And I was sitting in a coffee shop contemplating it all, and there was a soldier there who, he's trying to start up a conversation with me, and I was slightly irritated, and, just like, oh my gosh, and he asked me for my phone number, and I just laughed hysterically. And I said to him, truthfully, buddy, you just don't even want my phone number. I got so much baggage. I need an airline cart to wheel it around in. And he just laughed at me, and he's like, well, I'm a soldier. Baggage is nothing, And so anyway, he did end up calling me. He was stationed in Virginia Beach area, and that's actually how I ended up moving. We thought that there were better opportunities for the children in Virginia, and there are.
And you thought about coming back to Pennsylvania on many occasions, and you spoke of how you're, when you looked, you're of German descent. You traced your family tree, your relatives fought in the American Revolution, and you have land that you could actually come back to, and you're not doing that for a certain reason. Why is that?
Well, we thought, first of all, I should say that my husband's military career was actually compromised and he was forced to retire from the military based upon what was going on in Pennsylvania. His superiors felt it was not safe for him to deploy to a war zone based upon the war that was going on in Pennsylvania. That's horrible. He lost a 23-year military career based upon what's going on in family court. I think that's unconscionable. Men, and he was a commanding officer, men were forced to go over to Kuwait without their lead guy based upon what was happening. So this is affecting many people. But anyway, my grandfather built his home with his own hands. He literally built his own home, and the house went up for sale after they both passed away. And wow, that would have been so great to live in that home, to continue the tradition. And we thought about it. We thought, what will we be bringing? I'm remarried. I now have other children who know nothing of Pennsylvania and live in freedom in Virginia. And we thought, what would we be bringing them back into? What could happen to those children? The very real reality that because of my issues with my first husband in family court and CYS, this could impact my other children, even though I've done nothing wrong. And we decided to stay in Virginia, even though our entire family is in Pennsylvania. We felt it wasn't safe for our family to go back. And that's just heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking.
Michelle, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the organization, who gets, victimized or who gets targeted, some of the things that you've seen that's went on since you've started the coalition, and what folks can do to help fight back. You're listening to Sanity Check 94.3 FM, The Talker.
Sanity Check with Tea Party Mike, Libertarian Lou, Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM, The Talker.
'Cause I'm gonna make this place your home. Settle down.
Settle down, you guys out there. This is your home, and once again, we're doing our best to make sure that 94.3 FM, The Talker, Sanity Check, the Independent Gazette, is a home, and also a place for people that are dealing with these custody for cash issues, the kids for cash, court abuse, I would say, and certainly we're going to set up that mini command center at the Elm Park United Methodist Church at Linden and Jefferson. That first meeting is December 18th, and kind of like a little bit of a get together. That's between 6 to 8, and as we roll into the new year, Michael, we will be doing more and more stuff to get this information out. I want to get back to Michelle, and Michelle, certainly the Pennsylvania Coalition of Family and Parents' Rights. You have a Facebook page. You have a hotline. That number is 206-339-9456. Since we started these stories, the custody for cash, and you wrote down a number of different things, and you found that the CYS targets certain types of people.
That is correct.
Let us know who you have in mind about this.
What we found is that certain types of people are targeted. Those that have a limited amount of formal education. There are people who have never graduated from high school. Some maybe didn't even graduate from middle school. People with limited financial resources. They can't fight back in that way. They're not able to hire a lawyer, who most charge $300 an hour. Those with limited family support, for example, their parents are dead, they've been foster children, people with some sort of trauma in their life. For example, they're going through a divorce. They're people who are single parents. People with handicapped children, especially people that have children with medical issues. This seems to be in certain counties. They really target in on this and zero in on these people. People that are involved in family court. And, people might say, well, I'm educated, I'm middle class, I work, I have money, I have nothing to worry about. The divorce rates, a lot of people get divorced. The reality is you're one angry neighbor, you're one angry ex-spouse away from having CYS involved in your life. And that's very scary. We have people who have been called just because a neighbor gets angry at them, makes up accusations. The next thing you know, they're in real trouble. And it's scary that that can happen in this country.
You know, you say, and one of the reasons the coalition was formed is to advise people of their rights. And certainly you're encouraging folks to join in because there are strength in numbers. And certainly we played Brave before, and we brought folks on this station before, and we've written stories before that, you know, it's easy to say people, you know, should stop being scared, but they do need to stand up and feel, you know, do what they can not to be intimidated and stand up for their families, correct?
Yes, it's very, very frightening. It's very frightening. I have stood out in the hallway of a courthouse and had people I didn't even know who were ready to walk into court with accusations against me, things that I had done. That is just incredible. That these people didn't know me. I had no idea who they were. And yet they said, if you don't do this, we'll make it so that you will never see your children until they're 18.
I know this is mind-boggling to folks. And we're buried. You know you're buried. You know your group is buried. This is a serious problem. And one of the things I posted on Facebook last night is that, you know, the legal system loves the word precedent. You always hear precedent. And we have precedent right here in River City that we could not trust what is going on in our courts. We have the kids for cash. This is real. This is not conjecture. And we're not talking onesies and twosies. We're talking hundreds and thousands of folks. I'm here to tell you, people, that this custody for cash is going to dwarf kids for cash when it's all over with. There is no way that we could continue on a daily basis to get these people calling, not only locally, Michelle, not only just in Pennsylvania, but from around the country, as you get, saying, what is going on here? And we can't allow and we have to stop allowing these courts to operate in darkness. There's always, you know, I posed this question yesterday to an individual, and I said, you know, why is it that we as reporters are thrown out of the courtrooms? And I will tell you that, we have to protect the children. Okay, let's take that. Let's take that on its face value, that we need to protect the children. So lawyers are there to protect the children? The guardian ad litems are supposedly there. Somehow they have more of a moral fiber than I do.
Right.
That you know, like if I do something wrong and right, as a newspaper reporter, as our newspapers, if we report the names of children or report, I identify them, then prosecute us. But why is it that we accept that we're supposed to somehow believe what they're doing in these courtrooms? They don't want the cameras. They don't want anything where there's any kind of transparency whatsoever. So anyway, your group is trying to get laws changed, correct?
We are trying to get laws changed, and we are trying to work on the transparency, which is a huge thing. In some cases, parents have been forced to sit in stairwells while court is conducted. They have no idea what the accusations are against them. In many cases, court is conducted in the judge's chambers.
Michael, you remember, Michael, how many times have we brought this up? They're going to go into chambers. We show up, and the next thing we know, we're going to conduct this in chambers. But, you know, I don't. There's so much that we want to get through here today, Michelle. So I'll try to let you keep going here a little bit.
And these are all really good things that people have no idea that they exist, that they happen this way, because the average American, I'm thinking, and people have told me this, they really believe in CIS, that it really happens that way. You know, my generation, Hawaii 5-0, that things happen a certain way. It's not that way. And it's shocking when you're confronted with that you're led to believe, and I really believed, rules were going to be followed, that it was going to happen a certain way. You watch Law and Order, you think this is the way it happens. No, it's not that way. I have found, it's about politics, it's about backdoor deals, it's about there is an outcome that they want, things are manipulated to do that, facts are ignored. It is just really, absolutely, it's like a reality show. It's crazy what goes on, and what's happening, and the final outcomes are not, the majority of the cases, in the children's best interest. It's very frightening, and then you wonder, these children are going to grow up. What types of adults are they going to become?
One of the things that you said, the key thing to remember is that it's happening to you out there, and but it's not necessarily about you or anything you did. That the system is broken and needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
You also said that we are concerned about the erosion of family and parental rights as well as civil rights. I mean, that's something that's been on our radar for a very long period of time. And you said CYS should not be able to remove children from the home unless there is unless there's a lack of care, a lack of education, which we don't have time to jump into that. But once again, that's very subjective. Lack of education. Certainly, folks that are homeschooling their children, they could come in and they make accusations that there's lack of education and exigent circumstances. This is not happening. Try to get through a couple of these real quick, Michelle, because our time's going by, and I do want to stay with you. And usually we don't stay on a topic this long, but I think this is so important. What are some of the things that the coalition and some of the situations that you've seen folks have had to go through? Because certainly some of the things we've said is true, but start ticking a few off, and then we'll take a break, and we'll have to come back and finish up.
Right. We have had parents who have lost their children because they've had unpaid parking tickets, which is incredible. We have had parents told that they cannot seek medical care for their children. They are told that they cannot discuss certain things with their doctors or they'll lose custody of their children. We have had parents accused of fictitious diseases, organic brain disorder. One individual had their children taken for. There is no such diagnoses of that. We have had people labeled with fictitious mental disorders and their children taken for that. We have had children it's just incredible for the reasons. We have had people forced to take domestic violence classes when there's been no domestic violence. We have had people that are being forced to register as sex offenders, even though they've not committed sex offenses, and their children have been taken.
People's First Amendment rights are being abused.
Yes, you've been told if you cannot talk about this at all, which is, I think, a large reason why the population doesn't realize that this is an issue. You're told if you talk about this, we will make sure that your children are taken. You will never see them till you're 18. People have been threatened with arrest. I've personally been threatened with arrest because of an article that I wrote for another publication about what was happening.
We just
crazy.
had that happen to us. We're in the midst of that right now, where an individual gave us information. We wrote the story, and now she's in court, and they're looking to throw her in jail because of what we wrote.
Correct. And in addition, we have had people who have had to agree to have their phone records monitored and their computer use monitored in family court so they can see the websites they're visiting, the people that they're contacting. That is really freaky stuff, especially in a supposedly free country, when you've done nothing criminal, for the government basically to come in and say, we want to see your phone records, we want to see who you call. And I have had personally, I have been told that while my children are in Pennsylvania, I'm not allowed to have relatives call them, or I've been threatened with jail time. How do I control what other people are doing?
Yeah,
you know, it's just crazy.
We have the secret court orders, which we've talked about. Certainly, you've heard that. People are being forced to pay their entire salaries for child support. You brought that up before. People are accused of being behind in support. Assets are frozen. Passports are taken away. In some cases, people have been jailed. In some cases, people lose their jobs or are unable to pay child support on unemployment or are jailed to pay off their fines. We just had another individual of this. And certainly the retaliation factor. Michelle, we're going to take a break. I want to just, before we end today, I want to talk a little bit about how we fight, how ways that we could fight back about this, and what are you guys suggesting? You're listening to Sanity Check 94.3 FM The Talker.
Looking for Sanity Check Saturday mornings on 94.3 FM The Talker.
It's our time to take a stand. Remember who we are. Remember who we are. There's a call across this land. Remember who we are. Remember who we are. We were a city on a hill, a candle in the dark. It started long ago. Now we have come so far. We keep our faith when there's no way out. When there's little hope, we show no doubt. We go the distance, no matter how far. Oh, remember who we are.
Keep your faith. And please remember who we are. We're listening to 94.3 FM, The Talker, Sanity Check, Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike. Michelle, as always, we say this is the fastest hour in radio, but we have a few more minutes, and I do want to get Mike and X on to come back on here shortly to give me their thoughts and their wrap-up here. But briefly, what can folks do, and what are you suggesting?
First of all, know your rights. That's so important. And do not trust that your lawyer is going to tell you all of your rights or the truth. And in some instances, the lawyer is part of the problem. They're part of the system that's victimizing you. Join with others. There is strength in numbers. There really, really is. Talk to other people. Do not be afraid of sharing what is happening to you. On the other hand, you need to watch what you say. It can be twisted and used against you. Facebook is a prime way for them to get information on you. Watch what you post. Watch who you friend. Believe it or not, we found that there are lawyers and CYS people that actually have fake profiles. They try to friend people to get information on them, to be used against them in court. It really happens. It's real. It's crazy.
And you say make sure to Google your name, see what comes up.
Yes, absolutely. And if you see your Facebook comments are coming up, you need to check and alter your privacy. There are Spokio where there's information on you, other sites. Get your name off as many of those things as possible.
Politics, you mentioned, play a huge part in the outcome of your case. Who likes you, who gets along, who knows you. Keep this in mind when navigating through the system. Also be aware that in many cases, the amount of justice you get is contingent upon the amount of money you are able to cough up to the system.
Exactly.
We certainly talk about the system, and and one of the things I want to talk about the system also, but we're going to run out of time. And although the system verbally espouses co-parenting, that very system will do its very best to pit you and your ex or family members against each other. Michael, remember? Divide and conquer. We talked about that at the beginning of the show here. It is easier to victimize people who are angry, bitter, and separated from a support network, and as much as possible try to rise above this. Michelle, Thank you so much for being on here today. Certainly, once again, we need to give you more time, and we need to expose exactly what's going on in the family courts and courts in general. And it's about time that folks remember who we are, what we're here for, and why this country was founded. And if we don't start standing up and speaking, you're next. So, Michelle, we'll be talking to you soon. We'll certainly be promoting what your group is doing and other groups in the area are doing. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me on. You all have a great day.
You betcha.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
X and Michael, I'm sorry that we stayed on the one topic, but I thought it was important today, and I thought it was important to put a name and a face to some of the stuff that's happening. X, you want to go first, and then we'll let Michael finish up as normally.
Well, it sounds like the government agency in question, just like most of the government agencies, have strayed far from their mandate. I mean, obviously, the number one priority should be protection of the children and trying to reconcile and make families be able to get back together, not to try to keep people apart. But, it takes on a life of its own. It becomes an industry, whether it be the prison complex, whether it be, it's an endless stream. And the problem is when it gets dictated by these courts, you're essentially, you have no recourse. And the corruption of the courts is really at the heart of this, because
Bingo.
In order for anything to be fixed, it has to go through the courts. But what do you do when the courts are broken? No matter what you do, you're going to end up with the same, let's say, crappy result because of the fact that it gets processed through a corrupt system. Maybe that's the starting point of, trying to get the courts themselves overhauled.
Thanks, X. Michael, one of the things that we talk about is how the 40% of the people are using assistance on the system. It crossed my mind today. These lawyers are using the system. The court system is using the system. I mean, they get huge amounts of money, hundreds of millions of dollars to run these organizations. And there's, it seems very often there is no oversight. All they constantly ask for is more and more money. Michael, once again, we're the time went fast today. But what are your thoughts? What's your thoughts about this stuff?
Well, Lou, my thoughts are as people listening are probably saying, yeah, this might happen from time to time. I don't think it's as big as they're making it to be. And I want to warn people about that thought process, because so many things are bigger than we see it because we don't get the truth, Lou. And I look at some of these people going through this like Michelle and thinking at some point, maybe there is something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not getting it.
Right.
Because at some point in time you begin to believe that maybe they're right, and they're not. So that's why it is important to get into groups like Michelle's group, to realize that there is nothing wrong with you, that you're just being made to be pushed into a corner for whatever reasons. I don't know what they are. But it's important that we do stand up for what our rights are, because that's what our nation was built on, Lou.
You're hearing the music, Michael. You got the last word.
All right. God bless all.
God bless everybody. We'll see you next week.